Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to our channel. My name's Samuel.
And I'm Amanda.
And this is the Samuel and Amanda Show, where we talk about money, marriage and life. And in this week's episode, what's the theme of today going to be? The
theme of today is going to be generous giving. And it's going to be all about charity and how charity works. And we're going to be talking about, I think, the other side. So not just the like what we do, but also maybe like the bad things sometimes that can come with people when they, decide to give.
Yeah, so basically generous giving, but also intelligent giving, because sometimes when you can try and give, you can try and be helpful, and it can actually backfire. So we're going to talk about and not just small charities, but also really big charities. We've seen many times when going about how to work, who we're going to give to, how we're going to help our village, and we've seen other charities and organisations, and their giving is kind of almost they've gone out with good intentions, but it's actually backfired. So we're going to be talking about some of the problems when setting up a charity or when giving, whether it's just giving £20 or whether it's giving £2 million. But first, what have you been up to this week?
This week, okay, so the last couple of weeks, this week it's been quite hard really, because my granddad's been unwell and he's in Zimbabwe, and he's my only surviving granddad on my dad's side. So it's just been a little bit tough. He had a fall and he fractured his hip, and he had to have a hip replacement and stuff. So that's been really tough because obviously we haven't been able to go out to see him. And we always go out to Zimbabwe like at least once a year, but because of COVID and everything, it's just been really difficult. So I think that's been a bit tough, but he did have a successful surgery, so I'm really glad about that. And we're just praying for him. So
how old is Big Sakura now?
He's 89.
89.
Yeah, 89.
In Zimbabwe, 89. And we've been, as well, even without him having this fall, we've been itching to go out.
I know,
he's not met some of our kids yet.
Know.
Which is just, we've had, we've got a lockdown baby, Jessica.
Yes.
And Luke he's not a lockdown baby, but he was 2019.
Yeah.
So we haven't, he's not even met Luke yet. So it is crazy. So we're kind of just praying that he stays healthy, praying that the flights open up so we can go back.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, that's been it's been difficult, but God is in control, and we're just going to keep praying that he recovers well, which he is. Anything else? What you've been crack-a-lacking with?
Just
besides praying for your granddad.
Besides that, just life admin, really boring stuff, but just catching up on lots of stuff.
A lot of red tape my end, planning permissions close to going through, and just waiting on the councils. Also yesterday I spent the full day with Ricky Mandel, who's awesome, helping him. He's done very well, very, very successful in property, and now I'm helping him with his mission. Setting up whether it be enterprises, charities, or helping him with his speaking communication. So it was really good spending a full day with him. So if you've got any questions for myself or Amanda, anything that you want to ask us, we often in our podcasts, we do respond to comments on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, great. If you're not on YouTube, get to the YouTube version, start commenting below. So, okay. Giving, charities. So little tiny bit of background, and then I want you to talk about maybe some of the things that you can do, the things that you can donate to, which might not be a good thing. But how the charity, the Samuel Leeds Foundation, was set up was, I didn't want to be a full-time fundraiser. I saw a lot of people in my church that set out because they wanted to help people, but then actually they spent their entire time going around with begging bowls saying, can you donate, can you donate? And I believe that you can't help the poor by being poor yourself. So that's why I set up my business, initially my property business, which took off really well. And as a result, we have an obligation, a duty, a responsibility to give, to help others. If you are if you are wealthy, you have a responsibility to be generous. But as well as being generous, you've also got to be intelligent with your generosity. So why don't you give an example, as someone who's born and bred in Zimbabwe, in Harare, what have you seen some of the, especially from folks from America, white organizations that don't understand the culture, don't understand the backgrounds, the politics, that just give generously. Give me an example of something that can go wrong.
I think an example of something like that is like, for example, if someone comes from abroad and then they come in and then they just see all these kids, orphans or whatever, and then they take them out of their community, away from their friends and their family that they have. And then they build an orphanage, which is great. Right. Seems like a great idea. But then what actually happens is that then they're sheltered in there until they're like 16 years old. And then at 16, it's kind of like, okay, we've looked after you now, you've grown up, you can go off into the world. And actually, I think because they've been away from, I guess, the real world or whatever, and then also as well, they haven't been prepared, or, you know, for going out into the world and then, you know, getting a job or moving on to, I don't know, education or whatever, then I think it can have the opposite effect to maybe what they 100%. Would have wanted.
And taking kids off of their parents, like, and their parents might at the time might even willingly let them because they think, oh, they're going to have a better life and a better education. But as you say, it looks great. Oh, we just built an orphanage for these children, but actually, you've got to be really careful because, as you say, you can shelter them, and then when they're 16, then what?
Yeah. So I think a lot what happens with charities is that they don't often teach you how to fish, so they don't teach the kids how to. They don't give them the skills. They sort of just take them, do everything for them, but then don't actually teach them like this is how you survive. So I think that's what can happen, and then, you know, it's not a good.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing as well on business, because obviously I'm very business minded, and some of the things that I've seen happen is there's parts of Africa where there's mosquito problems, and you know, if you get bitten by a mosquito, you can get ill, you can die. And one of the things that happened some years ago was a bunch of Americans went over to an area which was, you know, mosquito ridden, and just dumped thousands and thousands of mosquito nets for the children and for people to have. And here you go, woof, and they just gave them all these mosquito nets, and then left, went back to America, and that was that. Now you might think, oh, that's a great thing. Now suddenly all these kids, they've all got these mosquito nets. It means they can be protected from the mosquitoes. And whilst it kind of was a good thing, the devastating long effect was that there was a lot of villagers small businesses who had mosquito nets. They sold mosquito nets. That was their business. And when these Americans came over and just said, here you go, woof, and just gave tens of thousands of mosquito nets, then all of the locals stopped buying mosquito nets, and the mosquito net businesses went out of business. So suddenly the shops who were set up and used to sell mosquito nets suddenly like, oh well, we're out of business now. So they went out of business. Now you might say, well, so they went out of business, so what? But now these people aren't going to get mosquito bitten. But what happened was, mosquito nets don't last that long. So after a year or two, all of these mosquito nets have now got rips and, you know, worn and wear and tear. But now the people that sell mosquito nets have gone bust as well. So suddenly you've got a massive problem on your hands. Good intention, sounds great. Oh, I'll just dump a load of mosquito nets. But actually, you know, not thinking intelligently, not thinking about the long-term effects of what's going to happen when you make that move.
Wow, that's awful. Yeah, that's right.
So that's the kind of thing you need to be careful of. Another thing as well that I have a slight, not issue with, and I get it, it's fine, but, and it sounds like we're kind of just saying, you know, bashing what people have done, and that's not the case at all. What we're saying is, just do it carefully, just think before you go and give a lot of money. And even the case, isn't it, if not just Africa or overseas, even in the UK, if you're giving to a homeless person, we all know that if you give £50 to a homeless person, there's a reasonable chance that the money's not going to be spent on food or whatever. They might spend it on drugs. I mean, ultimately, I think God judges the heart when you give in, but you might think a little bit more intelligently. Like I know when you give to homeless people, you usually buy them a meal, or instead of giving cash. So it's tricky. It's not straightforward, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, God judges the heart. So sometimes, you know, you may feel like, actually, I don't want to just, I mean, I feel like sometimes I don't want to just buy them a sandwich. I feel like I need to give them some money. And, you know, what they do with that, then it's like, okay, it's out of my hands. But when I gave that money, for me, it's like, I came from a good place, and it's, you know, it's where I'm coming from. So I think, you know.
I think it's really important to come from a good place. If you're coming from a good place, though, normally, if you're coming from a good place when you're giving, you will investigate a little bit about the best ways to give. You'll talk with the community, you'll talk with the chiefs. We always partner with either the chief or the government, don't we? And figure out exactly. I think one of the problems is not coming from a good place. It's just going, oh, let's just put 20 grand into this thing.
Wanting to be the hero.
Wanting to be a hero, yeah.
Yeah, not actually thinking about what you're doing, just wanting to look big and feel big.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, I donated this, but not actually, again doing the investigation, doing the research.
Yeah.
To know what the needs are of that community.
Not taking the time. Not taking the time. And that's really important, that you take the time out to really speak to the right people.
Yeah.
Even charities, if you're giving to charity, often you're giving to a charity, and that charity is, you know, paying their CEO £500,000 salary a year, and actually the money. And one of the problems that I have as well, while I'm on this rant, is I get really upset. I get really upset about, and some of the guys here listening to me will probably get upset with me for saying this, but all I'll say is just go and research. Don't take what I'm saying as gospel and just say, oh, Samuel said it. Just have your mind open to do your research. But when I see these, like Red Nose Day and things like that, I get a little bit upset, because not necessarily just where the money's going, because often when you give to big charities, they give the money to the government, the African governments, and then they spend it on themselves, and it doesn't really get distributed to the people. But the main problem that I have is the way, and we're so careful about this, Amanda, when I tell you what I'm about to say, is the way that what they'll do is they'll like take pictures and videos of, you know, kids starving, you know, real problem things, but then plaster it all over the UK TV, and people will have sympathy and everything like that. Yeah. And whilst that might be true and the kids are starving, yes they are, and it's a problem, the thing that we don't love is the way that almost, I don't know, how would you word it?
I feel like it's really annoying, because when you think, if I say, oh, Africa, I think automatically, a lot of people automatically just have this vision of like, oh, really bad place, oh, people
poverty.
Poverty. Yeah. And it's just like, it almost makes you not really want to go there, because you think, is it really that great? It's not really like, ooh, holiday destination.
Yeah, which actually is.
Which actually is. It's such a beautiful continent, and Zimbabwe is a beautiful country.
Yeah.
You know, and it's actually weird, because, for example, America, when we went, I mean, when you see America, it's just like, oh, the land of dreams, it's amazing. When we went to America, we were really surprised at the homelessness that we saw.
California.
It was ridiculous, literally.
Riddled with crime.
I've never seen, I've never seen it that bad anywhere.
Homeless people everywhere.
Yeah.
Riddled with crime.
It was shocking.
Terrible. But the thing is with the Americans is they're good marketers.
Yeah.
So the Americans know how to market themselves. And as a country, everyone wants to go to America, everyone wants to visit, everyone wants to do business with the Americans because of how they market themselves. Even when you watch the TV, if it's an American show, they'll only show the best. You'll be like, does an average person really live in houses like this? But it's like, woof, the land of dreams, as you say. Whereas I feel like with Africa, you know, most of Africa, people just think poverty, and one of the reasons is because of what the Western countries have done with showing, you know, of this, and they'll find the worst parts and they'll portray it as, and I do think that's a problem. I think it makes people not want, it ruins tourism, it makes countries not want to do business with Africa generally as a continent, and we're really careful about that, aren't we? Because of course we give, and we do see it. We see people that are very, very, very poor, but very rarely do we plaster it across social media and film it. It doesn't feel humane.
No, it doesn't. Feel humane. We want to empower the people that we're helping, not, not make them feel less than, or, you know, it's just, I don't really like
it's degrading and inhumane to film somebody suffering and then plaster it on YouTube and stuff. So we want to empower. We run business workshops. We give little business loans out, and they go and then set up businesses, train them, teach them. Yes, we bring food and water and shelter, doing schools and things like that. And I'm not saying that we've never taken pictures of anything that we're doing, but we are very careful, aren't we, not to not to change the perception of these countries as a whole. So okay, cool. So moral of the stories is to give generously, to also give intelligently. What advice would you give to somebody, Amanda? Talk a little bit about who to partner with, like when we go out, what we do.
So when we go out, we usually have a contact who we then have as like our guide in the country. But I think you have to be careful, because sometimes even the guide, I mean, they have their own agenda. Everyone has their own agenda. And sometimes they feel like, I mean, we've had it where our guides actually just wanted us to put money into and do work in their village only because they just want to help their village and their people. So I think you always have to be aware and even just ask someone outright, like, okay, you're our guide, this is what we want to do. I mean, what's your agenda? What's your why in wanting to help us?
We're very direct.
Yeah, very direct. Yeah. You just have to ask the question. And if you both know, if they put it on the table, well, I don't know, they wouldn't say, would they? But you just kind of have to be really smart about it, I think. Yeah, relationships.
Also as well, like there's usually in a lot of these villages, like when we first went to Zambia, we went to the chief of the village, who's a very important man, not easy to get a meeting with him. And we just said, look, Manda's from Zimbabwe, I'm from England, we have been to Zambia a few times, I've spent a month here. This is what we want to do. We want to build boreholes across here, here and here. Yeah. However, we want to speak to you to make sure that it's done properly. We want to put together a community that can look after it once it's built. What would you advise? And he was like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah. God bless you. And then he helped us. And rather than just doing it and people not being aware, not getting the green light. We went to the Zambian embassy. We spoke to them about what we're doing. We had the green light. Yeah. Now in Uganda, what we're doing with the building schools and stuff, we've partnered with the Uganda government. Although we can't go, it's so annoying because the flights. Because another thing is, I'm not comfortable with giving money unless I'm there.
Yeah, I think it's very important to be there and to be able to see what's happening.
Also, from an investment point of view as well, there's a lot of money to be made in Zambia, in Uganda, and I think Zimbabwe as well.
You always say this to me. You always say this to me.
Oh man, I'm gonna keep that quiet for the time being. So funny though, because people, I get a bad reputation for investing in the north of England because people go, oh, the northerners, you're taking the properties off them. Imagine how much bad rep I'd get if I talked about some of the opportunities in Zimbabwe. People will be furious, but they're stupid because actually, by investing in an area, you're boosting the area. People really need to start to think. Yeah. People really need to start to think. So if this video, if all it can do is get you to start thinking about business, economics, giving, charity, being intelligent, and I really think that, God will bless you. Whether you believe in God or not, you will be blessed when you are generous, when you bless other people, you reap what you sow, and there's also nothing more rewarding than giving. Generally speaking, give intelligently, but sometimes if you're prompted, we've done some ridiculous giving as well, haven't we? We've done things that are probably not intelligent, but we just feel prompted. Yeah. So that's it for today. If you've got any questions, again, comment below in the video. We'll do our best to answer next week. Also, how will people find out about our charity, our organisation? We don't ever push people to give. You can. You can donate to our foundation. We don't push that at all.
No,
we get very little donations. We've probably had about 10 people ever that have donated. We fund most of the works ourselves through the foundation. But if someone did want to get in touch with the foundation and they did want to give, or they wanted to see how we could link up, what would be the best way to get in touch?
If you visit www.samuelleedsfoundation.org, I'll put a link down in the description. You can click through to there. You can see all about what we do, and if you'd like to donate as well, I'm sure there's a donate button on the website somewhere. So
cool. And also don't forget, if you want to help others, the best way you can help others is by helping yourself first. When you succeed in business, in property, not only when you make money in property are you adding a product of providing accommodation, also you're inspiring others, showing what can be possible, and then with the profits you can give and have a snowball effect. And that's something I used to grapple with. I used to think, oh, if I want to give and be generous, and I didn't feel comfortable making lots of money myself, but actually I realized how flawed that was. Money is meant to go around. Be a river, don't be a pond. Let money flow through you. Make money, give money, make money, give money. Let it flow through you. Final words of wisdom?
Final words of wisdom. No one has ever become poor by giving. So I think we're all blessed to be a blessing. If you're fortunate enough to be in a position that you have the funds or the time to give to others and help others, then I think you should definitely do that.
I'm gonna be really out there right now though, and I'm gonna say, even if you haven't got the funds to give, even if you're broke, still give. Put a percentage of your money, even if it's just like 1%, 5%, 10%, and give. And what you'll find is, because sometimes people think, oh, I'll give what's left over. I'll live and then I'll give what's left over. Actually, I think it's really important to give first, because when you give off the top, when you give off the first fruit, so you get your wage, £2,000, and you think, oh man, let me just pay my bills and everything, and then I'll give what's left. Let me tell you something, nothing will be left. You're better off to say, I'm gonna give £200 or even £100 off the top, and then somehow miraculously you can live. And that's why, Amanda, what you said is so important about no one ever became poor by giving. So on that note, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know if you agree with what we're saying or if you don't agree. If you disagree, you have questions, comment below. We want to know what you think. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Wow.